Hi, everybody. My name is Diane Boorman. I'm a multi award winning business growth specialist. What do I do? This is always interesting. People ask me. I'm not a coach, I'm not a mentor, and I'm not a consultant. I'm a business growth expert. That means that I'm here to help you increase your sales, increase your profit, and increase your confidence. All while we add practical business knowledge so that you can make better business decisions. As you grow, and that's who I work with, is business owners that want to grow to the next level. And as we grow to that next level, we need new knowledge. We need wisdom sometimes. We can't just be doing the same old, trying to get to that next level. The problem that I solve is practical knowledge. My experience comes from owning my own businesses, selling them, building a franchise levels, business, etc. And so that information I share. And I've been working with hundreds of business owners now, doing what I've been doing over the last number of years. And we give you access to an ecosystem which often we don't have. So experts surround me in certain areas, from legal, from numbers, from all sorts of areas, and I will teach you how to build your experts around you. We also help you with the building of strategies and plans, and of course the implementation behind that. But also we hold you accountable for what your goals are and for what you want to achieve. Sometimes business owners and entrepreneurs find being in business extremely lonely. Sometimes it's scary. And most of the times, they don't have enough practical knowledge because they haven't done that jump to the next level yet. So we help you because what we stand for, what I stand for, is gaining and sharing knowledge and wisdom for innovation and pushing your boundaries, most certainly, and your limits. You didn't realize that you can get to that next level in many instances. We move businesses from 6 or 7 figures to 8 figure businesses. I want to share my voice in a public speaking scenario, but I'm also there to facilitate in different workshops and one on one when we work through the diamond plan. You most certainly will have a lot of fun. We will laugh lots. I have a very infectious laugh, and if you're feeling stressed, that laugh is going to get to you, guaranteed. But I'm also going to share my experience. I'm here to inspire, motivate, and educate business owners for growth so that you can increase your sales, your profit, and your confidence. What I won't stand for is inauthenticity, because we will discover that along the way, stagnation in business, and just simply boringness. We don't want to be boring ever. We need that level of innovation, that level of creativity. So I'm here to help you build an ecosystem. I want you to take the time to be supported by business owners. And I want this ecosystem to be working together, adding positivity to one another, whilst employing and making impact in the economy. We are all busy people and have got work to do and places to go and people to see. So, a huge thank you to our guest speaker today for joining us. Nadia has got a fascinating resume. I didn't ask her for one because I know a little bit about her. But what I'm really wanting everybody to take away from today is, how can Nadia help you eliminate stress and look at your routine tasks that are inefficient at the moment? And so how can you make money and save time with what she does? And that's what I really want you to listen to in what Nadia has to say today. She has a company called Act On. And if you're struggling with any of the tasks, routine tasks, you definitely need to have a chat with Nadia. Nadia has moved down from Durban to Cape Town, and we're very excited to have her in our village. And if there is one thing about Nadia that you do need to know is she's this super powerhouse, a businesswoman, but who swims from Robben Island to Big Bay. She does all sorts of weird and wonderful things like hiking up a mountain on a Friday morning really early, and so many more exciting activities that comes out of her Facebook pages every now and again. So please go and have a look at and see and follow Nadia on LinkedIn and really reach out to her after the session. As you know, you're not allowed to spam her, but do reach out and get as much information from her while she's here, ask questions. And we are really, really excited to have you here. Thank you so much, Nadia, for joining us. Over to you.
You. Hi, everybody. So I really would like to make this an interactive session. So at any point that you'd like to stop and ask me a question, stop me, please do so. Today we're going to explore the hidden systems that quietly drain time and money and what you can do about it. We've all done it. Used a quick fix that becomes a permanent system. It works until it doesn't. That's when the real costs start to show. Let's talk about one of the most invisible yet dangerous systems, those spreadsheets. They're everywhere, hiding key decisions, manual work, and risks. Quick show of hands, who's using spreadsheets to run their business or parts of their business? Okay. 90% of spreadsheets contain errors. The European Spreadsheet Risks Interest Group have done a study on this. And errors being from using the spreadsheet for formulas, using the spreadsheet for tasks, whatever the spreadsheet is used for. A study by McKinsey found that employees spend up to 1.8 hours per day or 9.3 hours per week searching and gathering information. So this is from finding, for example, you need to renew your vehicle license. Where do you go? Where an employee needs to know which vehicle needs to be renewed, etc. My background, where I come from, I implement financial systems currently, and being on the ground for the last 20 years with clients, I've seen the need and seen the gap of the impact of the risk on the employee and how an employer and how an employee feels when they've dropped an important deadline that they've managed on an Excel spreadsheet that has gone unnoticed. Spreadsheets are used how spreadsheets are used, Excel systems and processes. Excel is a powerful tool, but it's not a system and it's not a process. It's great for quick analysis, for one-off tasks, but when Excel becomes the backbone of your operations, risk multiplies. There's no audit trail, no controls, no automation, no transparency, because everything sits in silos and your own version of truth per employee. Systems drive consistency, processes create accountability. Excel has its place, but it's not the heart of your business. This is your current state. Current state showing your siloed information, your employee sits knowing that Excel spreadsheet, potentially when that employee leaves, that Excel spreadsheet gets deleted or lost. Manual processes in your business, you become reactive, not proactive. No digitized documents for back reference in order to make business decisions on your past information. No notifications and accountability for key deadlines, and unclear of ownership, finger pointing within the organization as to who's responsible for this, why was it not actioned. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a moment and see, are there any questions at this point or any input? No. Okay, awesome. So this is the future state. This is a platform I have developed from being on the ground with clients for the last 20 years. I have seen the need for all these Excel spreadsheets, these documents that lie on employees' desks, or what's in the mind. And I've created this cloud platform where you are able to have a digitized document so that you've got that reference to what needs to be actioned, who you need to deal with, the supplier, the service provider you need to contact, their contact details, etc. Email and dashboard notifications, accountability and escalations. This is when you have an employee that's in charge of a specific process, and should they not come to work or drop the ball, you are able to, somebody in the organization is able to pick it up. And time saving, which is a commodity which is invaluable, and we cannot afford to not manage it. Why now? Risk. Businesses are vulnerable to errors, fraud, and missed deadlines. Operational efficiency. Standardize process and eliminate duplication. It's not about working faster. It's about being consistent in your operations and how you process your information. And most importantly, the most valuable asset, time. Chasing paperwork, fixing errors, or waiting on approval is time we'll never get back. The result is giving teams control and clarity. I have got a case study to show you, and I have implemented it at Freeport Saldana, my platform, Acton. Their problem they were trying to solve was they've got work contracts of 5 years, 6 months, and 1 year contracts, and they need a lead time in order to process specific actions with the relevant employees before they can ensure that they can reissue the contract to the employee or obviously terminate them. And then they also had to manage their mobile subscriptions, which cost them a substantial amount of money, as each employee has a mobile subscription, a data subscription, and a dongle subscription. So each employee had about 3 subscriptions, which, as you know, when an employee leaves, this goes unnoticed, and they therefore were paying for subscriptions where they weren't able to cancel or move on to a new employee. So they also needed to know who to contact, which employee, what was the serial number that this employee was holding onto the device. So we implemented Acton, and they were able to, through their various sites, divisions, and departments, able to manage their assets, meaning their mobile and their subscriptions and their work contracts with all their employees. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a moment again. Any questions? You're going through this very quickly, Diane.
You can breathe. It's okay, Nadia. I have a question. So a lot of business owners obviously use Excel in their, it's become a norm, almost like a standard, because it's obviously easy and it's cheap, etc. But what about when more than one staff member needs to access a program or a document, and they're not necessarily in the office? So is systems like yours, or should they be looking at systems like yours in order to put it on the cloud or have it access to more than one person? I mean, is there that kind of option that everybody can use it at one go?
100%. So my platform is a cloud platform. So in other words, you go in through your internet URL, where you will put in your email address and your password, where you access the platform, and it can be used. Whoever is set up within the platform can use the platform from their mobile device, their iPad, their laptop, their computer in the office. So
Nice.
they will receive an email on a Monday currently, where they will get a list of what's outstanding. And should it reach the amber or the red time delta, it will notify the direct line of escalation so that there's accountability, so that there is somebody else catching the ball if the ball gets dropped, or possibly you get run over by a bus and you don't arrive at work again. Then you at least the directors or CFOs, COOs, CTOs know what needed to be actioned.
Nice. I think that that's often what we don't have is a time frame behind when things are needed, which is absolutely phenomenal. And I think that a lot of us need to implement that, whether you are using Excel or another system. What about the timing behind it? Nadia, there is a question Drina has. Does this work for company vehicles? How does this help with inventory, perhaps such as depreciation or product life cycle?
Interesting question. Thank you for that, Drina. So I'm steering clear of depreciation because, as you know, I implement, well, you don't, I've said in my introduction, I implement financial systems, and I don't want this to be related to a financial system. This is purely managing the routine task. We are able to integrate into a financial system if the need comes about. Where we would be able to, dependent on the integration, what integration is required. But no, this won't do depreciation. And what was your other question? Sorry, Drina.
How does this help with inventory, perhaps such as depreciation and
Company
product life
vehicles.
cycle and company vehicles? Does this
Company vehicle that would manage so whatever the routine is. So, for example, dependent on your business rule, again, we are able to tailor-make the system around your business rules. So, for example, possibly in your organization, you want to manage your vehicle license renewals. You want to manage every year in your employee contracts, you have the employee sign that the vehicle branding needs to be checked on a yearly basis at a specific date. You possibly need to ensure that the tires get rotated. Whatever your business rule is, however you lay it out with your employee and their work contracts, possibly, because I know most businesses, when you do get a vehicle as a company vehicle, you've got to sign for that vehicle. And there's a couple of conditions around using the company vehicle. So those can all be raised as for example, I'm in charge of making sure that our employee has to make sure, or the COO is in charge, that the routine tasks can be loaded at them, and then they would get the notification in order to make sure whatever the requirement is around the vehicle.
Nadia, as smaller businesses, often we don't have those rules in place. Would you sit with the individual business owner and structure those business type rules that are daily tasks, routine tasks oriented?
100%. 100%. So that's why I focus on Excel spreadsheets so much, Diane, because I've seen what Excel spreadsheets hold. So when I go in and I analyze any business, from being on the ground with clients to sitting at their desks, my eyes are always wandering. I look at their computer, I look at their desk. And I've even had a client send me their employee contracts, and I was able to build out their routine tasks from the employee contracts, whether it be a common date, whether it be the date of the asset being acquired. So yeah, I even analyzed their MTN bills. At the one point, we analyzed one of the client's bills, and it's such a long, they've got 600 mobiles, and we found a client's been paying somebody's cell phone for the last 4 years, and an employee for 2 years. So I often analyze Excel spreadsheets, and I advise clients, yes. If it's on an Excel, if it's in Word, or possibly even in diaries, and the best one is what's in the mind, then I can't. Then they'll have to tell me.
I mean, often business owners and smaller leaders of different industries in that don't necessarily know what their routine tasks are. They just do it. So
Yeah.
would you have like a checklist of things that they would need to consider?
So interestingly enough, I have built out a checklist, a little simple checklist, which will give you things to consider. around making you aware of what to look for. In the next slide, you will be scanning it shortly. In the next 2 slides. So yeah, I have got something, but I'm also happy to, if anybody asks a question or wants to drop me an email, I'm happy to have a 15-minute chat with them.
Yeah, and I really think that this is something important for everybody to consider, because often we get sucked into business. I mean, everybody knows that I talk about being busy instead of busy doing business. So I think it's something that we all need to consider. What are you doing all the time? What are you doing that's taking your time and where you should be concentrating on other things where the business is really coming from? So for those of you that are keen, I think reach out to Nadia afterwards. Maybe have a look at the checklists that are coming, but reach out to Nadia afterwards and just see, because this is where time and money sits. So please don't forget that. Sorry, Nadia.
Yeah, I think it's also just being aware of any processes we've either forgotten or we've outgrown, Diane. So the benefits of the platform: transparency and centralized, up-to-date information so that you have one centralized system, which we answered just now with Diane. So it's one platform in the cloud, which you can access from anywhere. So again, you've got no information sitting on a user's PC. It's sitting in the cloud, so it's backed up, it's secure. Digitization, traceability of key documents so that you have the right information at your fingertips to make better business decisions, not having to go through files. Often see a lot of clients are reactive, not proactive. Cost reduction: failing to action volumes of critical routine tasks timely can result in financial loss. So this is an interesting one. I think from me being directly involved with clients' financial systems as well, I never look at clients' figures. I always look at the process and often see, the CFOs and the COOs and the CEOs don't actually see financial loss due to penalties and interest from not taking action on a specific deadline. So accountability by job role and responsibility, so that your people are doing the right thing even when you are not there. And then improve compliance, alignment with ongoing industry-specific legislative requirements so that you keep operating. So industry-specific compliance, whether you're in the food industry, whether you're in the metal industry, there's specific compliance you've got to comply to in order to be business operational. Okay, so I'd like you to imagine, sit back for a moment. You're always watching, chasing, checking. But what if you could take a step back? Take holidays, focus on strategy, let your systems work for you, not the other way around. The first step is awareness. I have created a checklist for you with a couple of points where that could possibly make you aware of systems or processes within your organization that you've outgrown or forgotten about or just chosen to ignore. The thing is, we all think it will never catch up with us. At some point it does, because we can't manage an Excel spreadsheet with 1,000 lines. It's time wasted where you could be adding other value to your business. So if you could all just pull out your phones, and here is a QR code you can scan, please. If you can't download it, I'm very happy to drop it in or email it through to Diane and she can distribute it to everybody. All right. What you don't measure, you can't manage, and what you can't manage, you can't improve. Peter Druckers. So yeah, anybody has any further questions or would like to open the floor now, I'm happy to chat. Thanks, Diane, for that.
Yeah, thanks, Nadia. That was amazing. So if everybody can think about what are those things that they're doing routinely, and do you have a question for Nadia on that? Like what is the most boring thing that you're doing every single day? What is the most boring thing you're doing on a weekly basis or a monthly basis that shouldn't be taking up your time? Go, Andre.
Databases, especially contact databases. You send out an email, and 15% of them come back and they've changed jobs or changed the emails, and now you've got to freaking change everything so that you can't send it. And you've got to check all the unsubscribes, and you've got to check all the funny things. It just takes up
Yeah.
at least
So,
30 minutes a day.
Andre, we still have the human element, whether we like it or not. And there's a saying I always say to my clients: bullshit in or bullshit out, unfortunately. And that's how it is. You still have the human that they're not going to keep the information up to date,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, I'm just surprised at how many people change, and I suppose it's human nature. But if I send a Christmas invitation and I send a Christmas card, if I send another Christmas card at the end
Yes.
of at least 15% of them would be in new jobs, at least.
Sure.
And it's fucking
Yeah.
shocking. That's had 2 jobs in his life. Yes.
Yeah.
What are you
It's,
people doing? Stay with your jobs. Be loyal.
yeah, but also it's interesting that's also interesting because people don't leave their jobs because of their job. They're leaving their job because of people.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good comment. You're quite clever, seeing as you come from Queensborough. Yeah, that's very good.
And you're not supposed to tell people that.
Sorry. Oh well.
So Andre, they're saying at the moment the stats is only 43%, well, 43% will of people will be leaving on a regular basis. And
Sure.
more the younger generation goes into the workforce, the faster they will move around. So, as the generations change, the older generations stay. We were always taught that you've got to be loyal, you've got to stay, etc. Now it's no longer.
Now nobody stays. They make lots of money and they got no pensions.
No, nothing.
When
And
they hit 65, they're all broke.
it's
Yeah, but I honestly believe it's also how you raised your kids.
Yeah.
You've always fixed your children's problems or removed them out of an environment to remove the problem. They're going to 90% of the time be a child to jump from job to job
Mm.
because they don't know how to deal with the conflict or those hard conversations.
So
100%.
just to go back a step, so if I want to do the database, I physically have to go in there and update each one at a time.
Depend on what do you where is the database housed? Where have you got the database?
I'm a member of Google Workspace,
Yes.
which I find absolutely fantastic. I will love it. And it's there. It just takes a few minutes, but if you're sending out 550 come back, it's an hour,
Yeah.
at least. So it's just a monotonous and boring thing. And I send out about 10,000 emails.
So
So
why don't you, Andre, every now and then create a form for yourself asking people for updated information?
mm.
The thing is, when
I'm
you
one
do
of those guys who wouldn't.
complicated stuff,
I'm one of those guys who wouldn't fall that in.
so you're one of the problems, Andre. So you would not use my system then.
I wouldn't use that. I've just got so nervous about putting my name anywhere nowadays.
Yeah.
Normally it ends up being with people banging at my door and asking me to do things.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
maybe Nadia has quite a valid suggestion. Sometimes we do need to send out, but you've also got to convince people of why they need to stay on your database. So is it of value enough for them? So a quick form to say update, and this is the reason. This is my fantastic moment of fame, and this is who I am. And don't forget
Who do I send that to? The people that emails have changed.
the people that's on your database.
I
Everybody.
know those ones are good. They're the good ones. I'm looking at the ones that have changed and never told anybody.
Yeah,
But
you'll
No, no,
forget.
you should change.
email addresses in organizations get used over and over. So it's maybe info at whatever, but now it's not Andre sitting at that desk anymore. It's now Jenny sitting at the desk and you calling the person Andre.
Mm. Yeah, that's one of the things that I must say that I've made a decision a long time ago. I don't know about you, Diane, but I don't include emails that say admin, info, help, anything like that, because it just goes into this bottomless pit. If you don't have an email that has your name on it, then you're actually not a contact of mine. Then I see admin nodding her head. Yeah, if you don't have an email,
Yeah, guilty.
Giving a generalized email, I'm not emailing. I don't
Yeah,
want to
I personally like the those emails because you create consistency within your organization as well. Because what ends up happening with the name, somebody leaves, that email address now is not still utilized. I had it this morning, and they're emailing my old company I left a year ago with my name, but with and nobody. It's just gone into fresh air. So I don't know.
I want to send you an invite to a big corporate function next month. Diane's going, Liesel's going, and I think
Yeah.
Michelle, there's a couple of us. And I want you to ask any one of those corporates if they accept any emails that say info, help, admin. Their systems just go,
Sure.
they just kick you out immediately. So it's nice if you're dealing with entrepreneurs. If you're dealing with big companies, they won't look at your emails.
Yeah.
It's just it's just too much spam that floats around.
One of those things about also having a website with a Gmail, and
Yeah.
there's a very fine line between entrepreneurs that are saving money and therefore have a Gmail website or Gmail email address. That's the first thing that goes into spam and gets moved out. Most people, that if you have a Gmail email address or website, it's advisable to change that first. But I do think that there is a space for some of the emails, but not necessarily all of them. You've also got to think about one of the biggest things that attracts people is trust. So do you have a level of trust if it's info at? So that's I mean, I have an info at Diane Boorman. So it's quite interesting. But then I also have
So Diane, you like a company on your own.
I have a couple of emails. Depends on who I want to talk to. What level of importance are you?
I've got the Diane one, which is
Yeah. That's funny. So I think the most important takeaway is really think about what are you doing daily? What are you using daily? And often, and we've had it now with a number of clients, is we use a lot of different systems to do a lot of different things. None of them talk together. I don't know, Nadia, if you found that in the corporates that you're working with. And what have we've discovered is that there's people sitting on bankruptcy because nobody's able to pull things like management accounts. Nobody knows how much money's coming in, what's happening with the cash flow. So you've got to really understand what are you using and why are you using it. I mean, I have to get a bill every month that I pay for Microsoft. And I looked at it the other day thinking, why am I paying for 3 licenses? It's quite interesting. I'm not sure who else has a license in my company. But
and
anyway,
it's due this month, and it's due this month.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it is, and if you start putting things into systems, when are your vehicle licenses due? What happens with your company car? Is your car a company car? It would be a question. Those are the kinds of things now that really need to be looked at. Everybody's looking for pennies, but you can actually save a lot of money if you get your processes right, if you're using the right systems as you move forward, rather than little bits of freebies all over the place, which a lot of people use. Nadia, if you can think of one system apart from Excel that is detrimental to a business, what would that be? What should business owners look out for?
Employees' diaries, written hand diaries that they use. So they keep each year and then they go back and then they transpose from last year to this year on the same day. That is also a very common one.
Yeah.
Very common.
And where they make notes in their diaries too. So suddenly those notes have also disappeared. So we all go into meetings. What do we do with our notes that we make? And if you're working for a company, or if you're a leader, or if you're a business owner, it doesn't matter. Like, what are you doing with those notes, and who should be doing something next with it?
Yeah, the thing is, Diane, it's what happens with that information when that employee leaves as well, because it goes with them. And if they're an employee that's left unhappily, it gets deleted.
Yeah.
Seen it often. Passwords, whatever they've done. Because they come in and they create their own source of truth because they weren't given anything. So every time an employee comes and leaves, they create their way of working, which is very detrimental to the business at the end of the day.
100%. Right. Anybody got any further questions for Nadia? Use and abuse her now. She's online. In one email from you is allowed afterwards. Otherwise, you'll be paying a whole lot of money for her services. Sonia.
Yeah, hi Nadia. My name is Sonia.
Hi.
Sorry, I didn't get a chance to change my name on the system, on the screen.
No problem.
I wanted to know what's your thoughts about the virtual assistant. So in Andre's case, so we have that book of Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week, where they say like automation and anything that you can't automate, you use human interaction. So with the subscription list, if we hired a virtual assistant for 1 or 2 hours, say minimum 2 hours, but 200 Rand or 300 Rand per hour, the virtual assistant could do that for him but then for everything else, he used automation. So what's your view on virtual assistants for the human touch, which we can't automate for systems?
Well, I think virtual assistants are good because I'll take away the admin that you sitting manually, because I think you've got to work out your time versus having a virtual assistant. What is your time value versus having a virtual assistant, which I think Diane will agree. We still need the human. You're not going to get away from the human. You need the human touch.
Oh.
And also, I'm very proactive. So I like to be on top of stuff.
Oh.
So typically an email is answered within 24 hours, way less, but I like my clients. And I think that's what sets me apart from some of my competitors is my customer service. After sale customer service is very, very important for me. So I do agree with the virtual assistants. I think they're great. If you've got a clear business process, a standard operating procedure on how you want a specific role to be played out, 100%.
Nice, absolutely.
Diane, you'll know, we'll give a presentation and there'll be 300 people, and I'll say, if you give me my business card, give me your business card, I will send you my worksheet or notes or whatever I've done. And then I get 300. And now I'm sitting with 300. And that for me is a 6-hour job. But for a good virtual assistant, it's maybe a 3 or 4 hour job. So I'll very happily pass those away. But it's the, I've just sent Diane an email and it says info, and I go, I don't want that, and I delete it. It just takes 2 minutes of my life, but it's 2 minutes all the time. So yeah, but virtual assistants are like gold.
Yeah.
Nearly as good as one sitting next to you that's picking up everything that you're doing. I love that.
And believe you me, they'll find a way to do something quicker as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. You've got to look at how much is your hourly rate versus how much is a virtual assistant's hourly rate, and share as much admin staff with a virtual assistant as possible. But you've also got to know, I think it's a very important one, because we've also got to take a step back sometimes and look at what is the process that you should be having? What are the steps that should be followed? What can be automated? Because virtual assistants can also make errors. So rather than having another worksheet, another spreadsheet, another Excel document, we might need to make sure that we have a combination of systems plus the human side of it. And Nadia mentioned something really important that I think that everybody must consider is how quickly are they responding? What is your response time? Number one. Do you have enough time to do the response? Because we've got so many other things to do, and that comes back to your systems. And what is that after sales service? So if you've done a job, if you've done something for somebody, what is your after sales service? And can it be automated? A lot of it can be, those are the discussions that you should be having with Nadia right now is, what do you need to follow up with? Financial, if you're in the financial space, when do you need to get hold of your clients to do month end documents? When do you need to do year-end documents? What do you need to do when? And all of that can go onto systems. So really start looking at your processes now. We are fighting time. Everybody says how overworked they are and how underpaid they are. But if you've got systems in place, it's so much easier. You get given back time, and that's one of the most valuable things, which Nadia said in the beginning. So have a look at all your systems and have a look at your processes right now. Reach out to Nadia. Go through that list that Nadia shared with you, which is absolutely awesome. Those of you that didn't get it, drop me an email and I will send it once Nadia sent it to me, and reach out to Nadia. Nadia, why don't you please put your email address in the chat so anybody can reach out to you afterwards. Have a conversation with her and let's see how we can start saving you some more time and making some more money. Isn't that exciting?
Just to add one more comment there, Diane, I've always considered business continuity. So in other words, when that employee leaves, what is the impact and how do we know what that employee did?
Yeah.
Because employees always do a lot more than what's in their job description. They're not just doing what's in their job description.
Yeah. 100%. But I also think it's about following the trace of what your jobs are. If you're a service person, or even if you're making a product, who's responsible for what, when, and what system can be put into place, that you're not hovering as a business owner as well, that you're not on top of somebody else, keep moaning at somebody else. Can you see it somewhere? Can you have it in document form for future possible moments of glory where you have to go to CCMA, those kind of things. You need to have physical proof of a lot of things in business, and which is one of the areas that we forget about often. So really take some time and look at your processes that you've got, link it back to your policies. Where should you be sharpening that pencil right now? Last question, anybody? And then we're going to say love and leave you and go and have a fabulous day. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nadia. You're an absolute star. This will go onto YouTube. You guys can go back and go and listen and really study those slides that Nadia had. I think it will give you an amazing reminder of what you should be doing right now instead of what we are doing. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you next month and look forward to seeing the growth of all your businesses. Huge thank you, Nadia. Go well.
Thank you, pleasure. Bye, everybody. Bye, Diane. Bye.
Bye.